Kurt Holobaugh is back on the show as he gets ready to compete for the first time in a while. This time in XFC 43 going down November the 11th. You can catch it on NBC Sports and it's part of the lightweight championship tournament against Joziro Boye. Kurt, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Well, I'm happy to have you back, man. And it has been far too long since we've seen you compete inside the cage. We got to go all the way back to May 11th of 2019. You had that UD loss to Moises. Tell me, man, what has life been like for you since? Obviously, the pandemic has hit. Just how have you grown as a fighter and as a person here since your release from the UFC?
Just been taking the time and training every day, trying to get better, trying to fix all the holes in my game and all of my weaknesses. And, without specifically training for a fight over the last year and a half, and especially with all of the young fighters that I got coming up who has actually been kind of making a name. I had one guy fight not long ago on the Icon Fight Federation, their first show, and just helping these guys grow and get better has made me better also. So I've just been taking the time, spending it with the family, training at the gyms, and living life, man.
I know every fighter's dream is to make it to the pinnacle of the sport, which clearly is the UFC. Did you struggle at all with that mentally when you had that 3-fight losing streak? Just kind of run me through your emotions to get to where you're at right now.
Yeah, it sucked. I felt like there was for sure no easy fights in the UFC for me. Everybody that the UFC threw at me were some dogs and top guys. And, but if I could take anything away from that is, I matched up well with those tough guys. I had good moments in those fights. So I would still love to be fighting in the UFC. But, it is what it is. You live and you learn, and you never know what the future holds.
Did you get any specific feedback from Dana or Mick or Sean Shelby, whoever it may be, to tell you anything about why they're letting you go? Or
no, and I never talked to those guys directly. Every time communication was done was basically through my managers at Sucker Punch Entertainment, Brian Butler, Brian Hamper, and they did say that Shelby said that he would take me back at 145 pounds, after I go out and get some wins. But the thing about it is I couldn't find guys to fight me out here. And that's why the long layoff, every time Brian would hit me up and say, hey, you want to take this fight? It's short notice, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We got this guy, that guy. I accepted just about every single fight they threw my way, and that guy turned it down almost every single time. So that's why it was hard getting these fights.
Yeah, and that's quite a long layoff. Again, May 11th, so we're closing in on a year and a half basically since you stepped inside of the cage. You did say that you've been really working on shoring up your weaknesses. I mean, you look like a pretty complete fighter to me, but when you look at those losses that you've had, whether it was to Burgos or Barcelos, what have been those things that you've been really trying to work on and become a better overall fighter?
Improve that takedown defense. That's not being able to stop a takedown has got me in trouble in several fights, and it's not necessarily my cardio that's keeping me from stopping the takedown. It's just, I get into a fight mode and I just want to fight, and like in the Moises fight, man, I think I would have done really well in that fight if I would have just, stopped a few more of those takedowns. So, that's really about it, and sharpening everything up. I feel like I've got really good stand-up boxing, kickboxing. I got pretty good jiu-jitsu. It's just my wrestling skill that's always been kind of lacking, and I feel like I've turned a lot of that around. And you never know, you might get to see something here in this next fight.
Oh, that's exciting to hear. Now, how has this pandemic affected your gyms? What has life been like as far as running those and just being where you're at right now?
It was a little rough at first. We had to shut everything down, so we were shut down. But all of my students and customers are so loyal. Not a lot of people, or not a lot of them, cancel their memberships. So that really helped me out a lot too. And now that we're able to get the ball back rolling, I've probably never been more busier than I am now, because for a while there was no after sports school or after school sports, and a lot of things were so limited, and with them allowing gyms to be open, it's kind of one of the only things that parents can put their kids into, or you can go do. Now, I mean, we try to stay. It's kind of hard with the social distancing and the mask. All that's kind of hard to do and work around, but I feel like we get around it pretty well, and for us, it's pretty normal.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm very happy that a lot of the people, the members that you have, didn't cancel their memberships. I know that's happened to a lot of other gym owners, and that's been really difficult for them to survive. Throughout this pandemic, have you done anything outside of just trying to stay busy with your MMA craft and running the gym, or have you gotten into like any movies, or do you like team sports? Like what else have you been doing?
Yeah, now we got football season back, and no fans, but that really hasn't bothered me too much. I love the football season's back, and I'm always trying to catch a good series on Netflix. I did really get into the Cobra Kai series a lot, and a few more series that I got into. Other than that, there was which I'm still, man, me and my son, we was waking up every morning, and I was just adventuring. I was finding some little small creeks and just walking miles down creeks, wading the creeks, fishing. With me and my son, we was doing that just about every morning before I had to go to the gym. That play a little golf here and there, spend time with the family, cook. We actually was in the middle of moving right in the middle of the pandemic. So, I had actually got my finalized. One city occupying us, and that took a lot of the time up. But other than that, man, it's been pretty good.
The silver lining clearly has to be getting to spend more time with your son and your family. I know that's what it's been like for me. I don't have a kid yet, but just my family in general, being able to spend more time, that's what really matters the most.
Yeah, and that was one of the biggest things that I took away. With everybody having a quarantine, everybody not going out and getting to do your normal everyday life activity that forced you to stay at home. And I remember when this thing first started, everybody was so scared of it. I might have went to town one time every 2 weeks. That's just to make a big gathering, gather everything we need. Other than that, we're at home. My kids house or any of our my fiance parents' house. We didn't do anything. We stayed at home, so we got some real quality family time.
Yeah, well, again, that's the silver lining there. Now, you did mention you're a big Saints fan. What's your expectations for the season there? I got Thomas on my fantasy team, and it's killing me right now. I need to get him back in the lineup.
Man, I got Michael Thomas on my fantasy team too, and he was my first round draft pick, and I lost my very first game due to, if he would have put up a few more points, I would have been good. But I don't know, man. I think the preseason kind of hurt us a little bit because, and not just the Saints. I think it's hurt a lot of teams not having that preseason. And I'm one of the guys that always hated preseason, man. Like after one or two preseason games, I'm like, let's get the season rolling. Now you really see how important that preseason is to a lot of teams, and I think the Saints started out a little slow, but we're starting to find our rhythm. And
but I got to get your take on Khabib beating Gaethje, and just where you feel like he retired now, obviously. Where you feel like he stands in that GOAT discussion, because there's been a lot of it.
Yeah, he's definitely at the top. I mean, I don't think he's a guy you can deny. He's basically mauled every single guy that's been put in front of him since day one in the UFC. So, I think you got to put him up at the top. I mean, there's nobody that's even came close to beating him. Mm-hmm. So, and the way he's won his last 3 or 4 fights has just been monstrous.
When you look at someone like a George St. Pierre who, cleaned out his division, basically, he had that questionable fight with Johnny Hendricks, but, he never popped for steroids. He had just, what was it, like 13 title defenses, and Khabib hasn't been over in the UFC quite as long. Do you feel like that has to play into the consideration for, GOAT status as well, as far as like your strength of schedule?
Yeah, I think it does. But one thing I think, a lot of people got to realize is today's fighters, like the guys that Khabib's fighting, that level has improved so much. Guys get better every day. And then it's just this generation, since, a lot of the guys that GSP and John Jones is fighting, these guys that are coming out fighting right now has been training since 2005, since they were kids when the first Ultimate Fighter come out, and their mom or dad or them said, hey, that's what I'm going to do. So they've been in martial arts ever since that time. And now these are the guys that are starting to come up and fight in the UFC. So I think the level of competition is a little higher than it used to be. But still, you can't take away what GSP's done, what John Jones has done. Of course, John Jones' troubles outside the octagon, I think, kind of reflects a little bit on him for that, his GOAT status. But, I mean, I don't think you're ever going to have that solidified number one GOAT of all time. It's always going to be an opinion. Some guys are always going to say John Jones. One guy's going to say GSP. One guy's going to say Khabib. It's always going to be somebody's personal opinion.
For sure. That's very well said. It's completely subjective. That's 1000% the truth. Now let's talk about this camp for you. Obviously, you have a really tough opponent. He's on an 8-fight win streak. How has this camp been? Who have been some of those main training partners you've been getting that working with?
It's been good. And like I said, I've been taking the time off. I have not stopped training 1 week except for the coronavirus. And I was still doing a little bit of training because I was trying to shoot some videos from my home. I was still getting training sessions, in. But, with me teaching, and all of my students can tell you this, there's not a class that they come and train that I don't train with them. Every single class I'm training, and I'm rolling with my guys. I'm sparring with my guys. And like I said, I got some pretty good guys coming up. I had one of my guys that just fought on the Icon fight card, the very first one, and he's solid, man. His brother, and I've been knowing about this fight on the 11th for a little while now. And there was a little confusion back and forth, some different opponents. I didn't know if I was going to be in the tournament or if they was going to sign me to just a regular 4-fight deal. So ever since, Brian with Sucker Punch called me and said, hey, I think we're going to have you a deal with XFC. They gave me the tournament layout, then they gave me the contract layout, and I'm like, I'm good with either one. So we've been knowing for about 6 to 8 weeks now that I was going to fight on this card. And yeah, I love the matchup with the opponent I got. I think the dude's got dynamite in his hands, good Dutch style kickboxer, dynamite in his hands and feet, kicks hard, hits hard. But I think I'm just a lot more well-rounded than this guy.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you say, is this a 4-fight deal that you signed?
No. Now, we kind of went back and forth. So this is the tournament deal. And, if I was to lose this first fight, maybe I don't even have a contract with XFC no more. I'm not exactly 100% sure how that's going to work. I don't know if they'll give me another fight. But, they were talking about signing me to an actual 4-fight deal.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll see how this first matchup goes here. Now, this will be as a part of the lightweight tournament. So how are you feeling moving forward, lightweight versus featherweight? Are those weight cuts getting a little bit more difficult for you? Like, what are you hoping, or what weight classes are you hoping to compete at here moving forward?
Yeah, the cut to 145 pounds has always been a little rough. I've always walked around between that 175 and 180 pound mark, and depending on what I was doing, how much I was eating. Sometimes I get a little bit over 180. So, trying to go from that to 145 is always challenging. It's always tough. It's always in the back of my mind, if I'm going to make it, am I going to miss weight or not, versus, the cut to 155, which has always been, easy for me, which I say easy. Nothing's easy, but, a lot more relaxing on my mind. I don't think about it as much. Like right now, my weight's been pretty good. I've been averaging around 170, 175. So that 20-pound weight cut, once I get into training camp and I start dieting right and eating right, it doesn't take long for me to get down to that 165-pound mark to where I can make the weight pretty easily from that weight. So I've always loved fighting at 155 pounds, always relaxing on my mind so I don't have to think about that weight and, dread that too much. So, and I feel good right now. I feel good. I feel strong. Like I said, been out of the ring for a long time now, and I'm pretty motivated to hear that cage door lock again.
You don't feel like you would be at a size disadvantage at lightweight versus featherweight? I mean, a lot of guys that compete at lightweight are cutting down from 200 pounds, sometimes even a little bit more than that. Do you feel like you're still going to be size-wise big enough to get where you want to be here at 155 pounds?
Yeah, maybe so. And now I'm probably going to find guys in this tournament that's going to come out and be a lot bigger. But I just got to rely on my speed and my jiu-jitsu skills to get me through that. I think that really comes into play when you fight one of these really high-level wrestlers. When that guy's, got, 5 to 10 pounds on you, and he's just that Division I wrestler or that really good wrestler that's going to hold you. That's what makes fighting at 55 hard for me. Very similar to Thiago Moises, man. That dude was strong, and I didn't realize how strong he was going to be. And I tried to peek at the weigh-in numbers the night of the fight where they come and they weighed you again just to see, I guess, how much you put on. And I was trying to look at his numbers. I think he was probably around 180, and I think I was at the 174-pound mark. So it wasn't too big of a difference until he puts his hands on you. Then you're like, damn, that was a pretty big difference, man. The dude was strong.
Yeah, no, for sure. Now, this card in particular is really interesting. There's a lot of former UFC fighters on the card. You got yourself, you got Andre Sukumtat, who's obviously competing at a different weight class. You got Bobby Nash, who's competing at 170. What went behind the decision to take this fight and compete for XFC? Because honestly, you seem like the perfect candidate for Bellator, and I kind of assumed that that's the route you'd be going. Is there a decision why your management team decided to go with XFC over Bellator?
I really don't know. I know that, I was pretty open to signing with any, large promotion, Bellator, PFL. And, I just sit back and even LFA, I got a couple calls to fight some guys in LFA. And like I said, I took every single fight that they offered for LFA, and all the guys turned me down. So, and I would have loved to sign with Bellator or PFL. I don't know why they never could get that deal done for me. Maybe I needed a win. Maybe, being on a 3-fight losing streak didn't look very well. They didn't want to sign a guy off 3-fight losing streak, which I was trying to take fights. And like I said, accepted just about every fight, even some local promotions that I told guys I would fight for if they got me an opponent. Some guys up north that they try to get me matched up on, I told them I would fight. So I just wanted to get that one win or two to try to sign with that big promotion. So, and then they came with the XFC and the tournament format. And, I liked it. I feel that they're going to try to compete with Bellator and PFL. It's very similar to a PFL to me. Yeah. So I like it.
Yeah, well, they're clearly a promotion on the rise. And as I said, a lot of great, very talented fighters on this card specifically. Now, it's going to be happening in Atlanta, Georgia. Who will be making the trip with you there, and who you have in your corner come fight night?
Well, I think I'm going to have my usual corner guys. My head coach since day one, Professor Raphael Elwanger, black belt, and Carlos Gracie Jr. I've had that guy ever since I walked through his doors. I got my stand-up coach, Port City MMA, Jimmy Mills, who is a very good Dutch-style kickboxer himself. Spent a lot of time in Holland back in the day with Alistair Overing, so I've been training a lot with him for this fight, fighting a Dutch-style kickboxer guy. He's helped out. And my strength and conditioning guy, Scott Smith. So that's going to be my corner. And then I'm of course, one thing that's going to be big for me, and one of the reasons why I haven't hung the gloves up yet, because I really thought about it hard, being that, the pandemic came. I didn't know if I'd ever fight again. I didn't know if, I didn't really want to fight for small promotions. So I didn't know what kind of deal I would get. But, man, I'm going to try to have every one of my kids there. They've never seen me. All of them have never seen me fight live. I brought my son to the Madison Square Garden fight to watch me fight Shane Burgos. He's the only one that's ever showed up to watch me live. So I'm going to have and all four of my kids here at this fight. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
That is awesome. That's very cool. It'll be a special moment for sure. Are they going to be allowing like a full capacity, or is it just going to be a limited amount of people there?
I'm sure it's going to be limited. I don't think anybody's allowing full capacity in events yet. So I'm sure it's going to be limited. I heard 35%, but I don't know for sure yet. That's just what I heard. But as long as I get, my family in the doors, I don't care how many people's in there.
Yeah. Well, it'd be a treat for your family to see you get your hand raised. I'm sure that'll be the highlight of the year for them. Let's talk about this matchup. Again, Boye, 8-fight win streak, kickboxing specialist. You said you feel like you're just a little bit more well-rounded than him everywhere. How do you see this fight shaking out?
I see this fight going a lot like the Jay-Z Cavalcanti fight did. I like to stand up too, man. So I'm going to, I'll stand up, we'll kickbox, and then maybe look for some openings to shoot a takedown on him, take him down, and try to get the finish on top. That's been one of my things that I like to do, and I got a lot of wins that way. So, and if he happens to give up a submission in the middle, then I'll take it. I'm not going to pass anything up.
Awesome. Well, again, I really appreciate the time, Kurt. I can't wait for this matchup. Everyone can watch it on NBC Sports, November the 11th, XFC 43, Kurt Holobaugh and Joziro Boye. Again, this is going to be a big one, man, and I know it's just the first step for you here moving forward. Before I let you go, if there's anyone you want to thank or any sponsors that you have, the floor is yours.
Yeah, no doubt. Without my family, my teammates, everybody that shows up, helps me day in, day out, keeps me motivated. That's the reason why I fight. So, definitely got to thank all those guys, all of my students in the gym that trust me and believe in me. All those guys. Thank all my little kid students. I have so much fun teaching these guys and trying to show them that, they can accomplish any dream they have in life. So, all of those guys, of course, my sponsors, I'm going to have a couple sponsors for this fight. Of course, my original sponsors, K-Ray Construction and Creole Tomato. These guys have been with me for a very long time. Black and Brew, Poorhouse, and, my team, Race United, Team Juke Out South, and Port City MMA. Couldn't do it without these guys.